What's up, YouTube? It's Joe Catapaglia sitting on the couch, making some money investing in fractional real estate online, as usual. Today, I want to make a correction about a couple of things I said about the art house yesterday, one of Mogul's new listings. I'm also going to just talk a little bit about what's coming up with Arrived, and then just have a question about being an accredited investor, talking a little bit about, I don't know how many people that are watching are. I've had a few people reach out to me and, that want me to change my stance on not covering platforms that you have to be an accredited investor. So we're going to dig a little deeper into that. But first, okay, and I'm saying art house like this is two separate words, and I think that's how they said this. But yeah, this property on Mogul, their latest deal that they have out, you can see this it's filling up quick, right? They're raising, I think, three. What are they raising? 333, 332. And they've already, there's only 110,000 left for them to raise. It's not even public on their site yet. A lot of people are excited about it. I did a video yesterday where I talked about it, and it was a little bit rushed because it is filling up quick, and I wanted to get out all the info that I had. I did put this update in the pinned comment on there, but I just wanted to mention it today as well. I think I had said in that video that the contract said 6 out of the 7 units had to be full when they closed. It actually says, I mean, 6 out of the 9. It actually says 7 out of 9, so it's one better than I thought. Also, the email they sent out shortly after I did that video says that currently 8 out of 9 are occupied. I had actually said that only 6 were, and I just was I made that assumption based on there's 3 active listings for rooms on PadSplit. So obviously, well, I tend to believe what the information that Mogul puts out. They so far they haven't given me any reason to doubt when they say something like eight units are currently occupied. So what I think is probably happening there is there are a few that they know maybe will be vacating soon, and then they're going to have to refill, and that's why there's 3 listings. I mean, I don't know. Other than that, it could just be laziness. They forgot to take it down after it was filled or something. Um, but so yeah, whenever I do make a mistake, if you guys catch me, let me know. I always want to give the right update, give let people know what's really going on with properties. Um, I think I don't know that that changes my mind on this one or not. It's certainly a much better situation to not have that, that worry that you have. Um, the vacancy was one of my biggest concerns because I wasn't really sure. But there are still a couple of outstanding questions. If you don't know what those are, feel free to check out yesterday's video. I didn't get a response um, on the the code, the change of plans, the number of bathrooms question that I had raised. So I don't. It's actually the longest Mogul's ever taken to get back to me. So not sure what's going on there. Usually they'll at least tell me, hey, we're looking into it. If it's something they don't have an answer for. So I'm sure they're getting busier and busier as time goes on. Uh, hopefully that's not a sign of things deteriorating. We'll see. We'll see. It hasn't even been 24 hours since I put that in. Um, so that's it. That's the update on Mogul. On Arrived, next month is when the secondary market launches. This is, I did a video on this a couple weeks ago. I'm not eligible for this first round because I hadn't been an investor in time. I believe you have to have been, yeah, made it at least 60, yeah, so you have to have invested in something at least 60 days prior to be eligible. So as soon as I found out about that, I had been waiting for this secondary market, but there wasn't anything exciting to me on the current platform. So I hadn't ever bought something. So I just went and bought one share um, so that I'd be able to at least be able to get into the September or maybe not even until the November ones, but at least by the end I'll be able to, you know, shop for that secondary market. They did put out, oops, where is it? There's an invite to webinar. There's a link to this in our Discord if you want to check that out. I actually think I'm going to miss this, which is because of the timing, which is really unfortunate because I'm pretty interested in what they've got going on here. If anybody sees it and they want to share some info, I really appreciate that. If not, maybe there's going to be a recording and I'll be able to watch it later. Um, Not all of these webinars do a good job of sending out recordings after the fact, though. So we'll see. Let's see. Oh, before I forget, please like and subscribe. In the description to this video, there are links to all the sites I'm currently invested in fractional real estate online. Uh, Please do your own due diligence on any of those platforms and on any of the properties that I mentioned on any of those platforms. I'm just trying to share, the way that I do diligence, the information that I look for, my thoughts on properties. But it doesn't mean that I'm telling you what you should do with your money, right? You want to really look at deals and see how they stack up to your own personal situation and your risk tolerance and your timing so basically just do your own due diligence on those things. And then there is a link in the description to this video to a Discord where there's, I think, around 110 of us now, investors, maybe even more. We've had a lot of people signing up lately. Talk about any platform as far as fractional real estate investing goes. Um, yeah, and that's a good segue to the accredited investor discussion. But one more thing I wanted to say is I saw some note that this starts tomorrow. That's August 1st, but I didn't see it anywhere on their site. It says August on here. So we'll see. Is this actually happening tomorrow, or when does it launch? Starting in August. So I don't know. I don't know if it doesn't happen until after the webinar, or if it'll already have been going on for 5 days when that happens. We'll see. Okay, so are you an accredited investor? This is an SEC rule where certain investments can be sold to you if you are an accredited investor, and if you're not, you might be barred from being able to buy some of those, right? And so, if you've earned over 200,000 or over $200,000 each of the last 2 years, or you with your spouse, it's 300,000, or you have a net worth over a million alone, and this is excluding your primary residence when you calculate your net worth, or together with your spouse or spousal equivalent. And then one of the newer ones that they had added is if you had a Series 7 license, Series 65, Series 82. These are like stockbroker licenses and stuff like that. Um, these rules are supposed to like protect investors from getting involved in things that they're not sophisticated enough to invest in. Uh, there's some new rule that could potentially pass. I think this is like I don't know, there's a bill out, but I don't think it's official yet, but that you could just take a test and become an accredited investor. But anyway, why am I talking about this? Um, in general, I've only been looking at sites that you don't have to be an accredited investor. I think that most of the people watching my channel are interested in fractional real estate because you get to invest very small sums of money. Um, and so I've sort of just been assuming that most people aren't. And I think, the couple of sites that I looked at that do, they have a much larger minimum investment size as well, which makes sense, right? Like if they're targeting people that have more money, they're not trying to do these $10, $25, $50 minimum investments. Um, I don't know. I don't think it's a great fit for what I've been talking about, or for most of my viewers, but because I've had a couple people ask me multiple times, I wanted to see, are you an accredited investor? Are you interested in looking at sites where you have to be one? If you are, you don't have to put that in the comments. I'm sure people don't necessarily want to share that everywhere, but you can feel free to DM me. Let me know, hey, yes, I am. I would actually like to hear about these, look at these, you know, and also, if so, are there actual fractional real estate platforms that you know of that you have to be an accredited investor? I think I've seen a couple. Most of the ones that I've passed on, it really hasn't been that. It's been, that people have brought up. A lot of them have been funds or REITs, and I'm still not going to cover those. I think, they just don't fit into what I do. And then somebody had suggested a couple, but they were about like farmland and acre trader, and I'm just not sure I know enough about that stuff to really be helpful. I'm going to dig into those sites and see. But if there are other sites that anybody's aware of, feel free to put those in the comments, or jump in here. But then the other question I had is, if this is you and you're somebody who's trying to put more money to work, um, why fractional real estate instead of just buying some whole properties? Um, I know I've talked a lot about the benefits of fractional real estate, the diversification, how it's more passive, all those sorts of things. Um, I think over time, I've started to see there's a lot of problems with these platforms as well, right? So far, Mogul is one of the only ones that's really traditional real estate investing that I haven't really had a problem with, right? So I think that's one opportunity. You don't have to be accredited to be on there. But like most of the platforms, like I would never be. I think that like Lofty is not the right answer for someone who's got a lot of money to put to work, right? I mean, that's I've talked about that a lot of times. I've got a little bit on there. I can do well trading small amounts, but as soon as you start to put a lot of money on there, the slippage just ruins it. So I'd love to put 5 or 10 times as much on that platform, but it just wouldn't work as well anymore. I think, Arrived, I've just never been very excited about their returns, their stated level returns, right? Not like my interpretation of their returns, but what they say. And so I don't know, maybe if I dig into some of these other ones, there'll be some opportunities. The other thing too is I'm not sure, like I remember I looked at Nectar a while back. Um, which I think was like a mezzanine position on commercial properties. And I think the more I've really, done this channel, the more I think I'm going to stick to primarily residential investment properties, and then maybe sort of more simple direct investments in commercial. I think that it is a lot of the platforms that have like I think the more complicated the investment structure, the more likely it is that you're getting duped, right? And I don't mean that about Nectar specifically. I mean, I think their product is for I think you really want to know something about commercial real estate to invest with them, and you really want to understand what your position is in there. And then to a certain extent, I think maybe they had a fund too. So I don't know. This isn't about them in particular. That's just one that I remember ruling out because it was, you had to be accredited. So, yeah, I always wonder like why not just pick a market that's got relatively cheap turnkey properties, buy some properties there, hire a third party PM. If you're going to put a lot of, if you're going to put a lot of money to work, and then you have more control. You don't necessarily have an expert picking those properties for you. Like, so for example, it's not a big jump if you're someone who's putting like 50,000 bucks to work on a platform. Well, I mean, if you buy a brand new construction Lennar home in San Antonio right now, I mean, there's a bunch of these, and not that these are necessarily the best investments at the moment, although these are ones that my team has sold a few of over the past few years where Lennar pays down, they buy down your rate and whatnot. That's just one example, just because they popped up. I actually just did a search of new construction here in San Antonio because it's if you're just looking at, I feel like these deals look a lot like Arrived Homes, right? As far as like it is, they're buying mostly new construction, not fantastic yields, but they are, they'd be ones that you'd have control over. You wouldn't have all these layers of fees that you get in these other platforms. So I don't know. It seems like I started this channel really with the assumption that most of the people that were going to be investing in fractional real estate would do so because they didn't really have the option to buy bigger, buy deals on their own. And I thought a lot of people might just graduate to buying deals on their own. Now, over time, that my opinion on that sort of changed. I really like the idea of just putting money to work that I don't have to do anything, provided I think that the platform's doing a good job. So far, like I said, I mean, Mogul's the only one that I really feel is at the moment. And so I'll probably put a decent amount of money with them in the future, but they're very new, right? I mean, I've only been investing with them since I think December. They've only been going for like another year before that, I think. Maybe two, I don't know. Uh, so I think that before I'd start to risk a lot of money on there, I'd want to, have a little bit longer track record, even though I've been very happy so far. Um, Sol's Lot is another one that even, they're very new, but I've been happy with as far as putting money to work. But it's, it is, so I have this situation coming up where I've got a pretty big mortgage payoff coming to me because I think I've mentioned a lot of times before that I do, I've done private lending, more, owner financing where I hold the mortgage, people bank payments to me, And I think that I'm going to have over, especially over the next couple of years for sure, but coming up even sooner than that, uh, some bigger chunks of money that I have to put to work. And I had been hoping to have good spots in fractional real estate where I'd want to do it, and I just, I will put a little bit more on Mogul. I'll definitely keep buying stuff on Saul's Lot as it comes up, but there's not another spot where I'm like really excited to put stuff, and so I've started shopping for deals here in town again. And this is a market where I think that there's a lot of deals to be made. I mean, my team is selling a lot of investment properties, in general right now. I know I mentioned this a lot, but my day job, I have a small agent team here. We're part of PMI Birdie Properties. All we do is help investors buy properties here in San Antonio, Texas, typically out of state investors. Have our management team help with it. That sort of that whole thing, which is why a lot of the people that came to me initially that weren't ready to actually buy whole properties, those were the people who I was looking to help with um, looking when I started looking at some of these fractional sites. So, um, yeah, but so now I'm sort of leaning back in that direction is to where like maybe with my next big payoff, I'm not going to put a whole bunch on any particular site, and I am just going to move it to properties in real life again. I think uh, Lofty's been really disappointing to me lately. That was one that I thought I'd have a lot of capital on. Um, and even maybe bring some properties of my own onto that platform. And I think that as time has gone on, it's just one disappointment after another. And I think that doesn't. I don't think that's going to happen. And so I like Mogul. I think I'll put, like I said, I'll start putting a little bit more in each of their deals. But again, I mean it's new. Um, so I guess maybe there it is time to start looking at some of the sites where you have to be accredited. But I don't want to do this as part of my channel if it's like 1% of you guys are accredited and most people aren't. So I'm really curious, one, just how many people are actually watching that would fall into this bucket, and maybe we start talking about some of these other platforms. And my other thought is too, if it's just 3 or 4 people and you all DM me, maybe we start a little private chat, so in a subsection of the Discord or something like that, where we go over some of these platforms together. But it's not really something that I'm doing, just putting out there to the world if it's just not that interesting. I just don't want to turn off most of the people that are watching. I feel like we're building a nice community. I really still, and hopefully I'm not too negative. I really am still a believer in the concept of fractional real estate investing. I have very high hopes that Mogul will continue to put out good deals, and I'll be happy with them in the future. And I really hope that there's other platforms that pop up that are doing similarly well, right? That have um, real estate professionals that are selecting great deals, not the whatever's legal we'll throw up here and see who wants it type of platforms. Hopefully, we don't see any more of those, and we see a lot more of something that's a little bit more curated, or if it is a platform, something that has some like real criteria or better due diligence, where we have better transparency on the stuff that's brought to the site. Or if there are more platforms like Arrived and all the Arrived clone sites that have popped up, if they figure out how to get better deals and drive down their cost of, their compliance cost, I think right now is what really kills most of them. Um, Obviously, I am pretty excited about the Arrive secondary market. I'm hoping that some discounts come up, but this industry won't grow if the only real opportunities are buying deals from people who bought it, lost money, and sold it to you for cheaper, right? Even though that's a great opportunity for us, like that's where virtually all the money is made on Lofty. It's by, you're making money because somebody else lost money, but that's no way to build an industry, right? You can't. It doesn't work that way. You need deals like the deals I see on Mogul. Again, I know I'm always really positive about them. Do your own due diligence, right? It's not every single deal they put out is going to be a winner, but on average, I really like their deals, and so we just need more of that, right? And if we don't find more of that, then I don't know. We'll see. But I think that there will be. So hopefully hopefully don't take this as too negative. Just because I'm out shopping with my dollars for properties here in real life. Um, I'm hoping maybe that'll just be the next payoff, and then once the next, maybe next year, as I have some more rolling in, there'll be uh, there'll be different platforms. So I think there's new stuff popping up all the time. I've talked to a lot of people that have plans to build stuff. Um, I've talked to a lot of people that have plans, but I don't think they'll ever do it. But I've talked to a few people that have talked, that are actually working in that direction, and I believe will do something. So we'll see. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching. And if tickle the like button. And if you do have any platforms that I'm missing, please let me know. Some of them, like people have mentioned ones that when I checked into them, I couldn't get on there because it's got to be open to U.S. citizens because that's who I am. I can't really otherwise. Yeah, at this point, even if it's ones that are accredited for accredited investors only, I'll take a look at them. I'm gonna, like I said, be more sparingly covering those ones, and then like maybe we create a small group where we talk about those as well. Or I think a lot of people aspire to have that level of income or wealth, and so maybe more people will be interested than I think. But yeah, feel free to either put it in the comments, jump in the Discord, or because it's more about you personally, feel free to DM me if you fall into that bucket and you care to hear my opinion on any of those. All right, that is it for me for today. Until next time, gonna keep making mistakes so that you don't have to.